current affairs, facts and opinion, their future in our hands. Markets, globalist technocrats versus the people. A line in the sand. The McIntyre Report.
And welcome back, folks. Jamie McIntyre here reporting live, Australian National View Studios. Follow our 24-hour news headlines. ANR.news. Charlie Kirk's memorial has just been held in Pack Stadium. 60,000 people, over 3 million watching live stream, no doubt more across the internet. That's some footage there just before the memorial started. Elon Musk was interviewed. Let's go to that right now.
Well, Charlie was someone who believed in dialogue, in open debate. He was a man of ideas. He spoke eloquently. He basically never even raised his voice. He was a man of peace. Mm-hmm. And now he's been murdered in cold blood.
Did you know him personally?
Yes, of course. We met many times.
How was he like?
I supported his organization. I supported Turning Point from quite early.
Why was he killed?
He was killed because his words made a difference. Because he was showing people the light, and he was killed by the dark.
Thank you, sir.
Well, yeah, he was definitely killed by the dark there. Words from Elon Musk. Interesting parallels there. Elon Musk was originally critical of the state of Israel and actions that the government of Israel has done some time ago, critical of the ADL, Anti-Defamation League of Israel's. It's used to basically censor and shut up any criticism of Israel's evil practices, the dark practices. And then he was dragged off by Netanyahu, who invited to Israel and taken on a tour of Auschwitz, which is usually the reprogramming that they do to people that might get off the guardrails and speak out. Charlie Kirk started speaking out the last 2 months before his death. He was also invited by, guess who? Netanyahu. But unlike Elon Musk, Charlie Kirk said no. He rejected Netanyahu's offer to go and visit him. He told friends privately that he thought Netanyahu was a bully. He'd even on interviews, which we've shown on the McIntyre Report, you can see the recent episodes, and shown otherwhere throughout independent media, that publicly his recent interviews, even with Megyn Kelly, had called out Netanyahu and Israel being complicit in October 7th, basically saying, was there a stand-down order? There had to be a stand-down order for 6 hours, up to 20 hours before help was arrived to a border which is so heavily guarded that even a mouse or cockroach dare goes near that prison fence erected around Gazans, they would be shot dead. If a kid throws a pebble at that fence, they'd be shot dead. Actually, kids in Gaza don't even have to throw pebbles at Israel. They just have to be kids and they'll be sniped in the head not once but twice. But let's put aside that darkness that maybe Elon Musk, is that the darkness you're talking about? Murdering Charlie Kirk. Who would possibly murder Charlie Kirk? Probably serial murderers that have no issue killing children and have a pattern history of assassinations of presidents in America and political figures and presidents around the world. I just wonder who that might be. But let's not jump to conclusions of the obvious suspect. But yes, Charlie Kirk was clearly killed by the darkness because he shone the lightness in the world. We always said as a good Christian boy. And however, we called him out because he was pro-Israel. But in recent months, it's been evidence. It's not some conspiracy. It's been shown on this show, Australian National View. You can go to ANR.news right now and watch the previous episodes with the evidence presented and other networks that are independent, highlighting that Charlie had a falling out. He also was highlighting, as we know, Epstein as a Mossad agent. Israel also didn't like that. They definitely didn't like when Charlie said that there was stand-down orders and Israel clearly was involved or allowed October 7th to happen to do what they've done since. And then his last episode, Ben Shapiro, where Ben Shapiro, who, as you don't know, is a paid shill by Israel, propagandist media outlet that Candace Owens was fired from. You only have to look at his expression. See, Ben would never turn on Israel because he loves the money. But Netanyahu and Israel and the wealthy donors, Israeli donors, offered Charlie Kirk $150 million, according to Grey Zone, just before they killed him. He said no. He was pressured by Bill Ackman, Jewish billionaire, and others where influencers were invited to the Hamptons, harassed. He even admitted on Megyn Kelly interview live, you can watch it, that he's being harassed and intimidated for even just changed his position slightly and being critical of Israel. No, that's not allowed. So the prime suspect we've highlighted is Israel. They had motive. They had to stop. He was so influential, especially with under 30s who are now all turning, large amount of the population, younger generation, detests Israel. For valid reasons, I think any decent human would see the darkness of that place and the killing of children and innocents. But let's not get too politically, shall we? Here's what Tucker Carlson had to say at the memorial. I think it was very good words.
Ultimately, he was a Christian evangelist. And it actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it. And they just go bonkers. They hate it. And they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Everything is inverted.
Interesting choice of words there and story by Tucker Carlson. I think very clever because, of course, Israeli-controlled media want us to believe it was the patsy, which they always have in assassination. They set up a patsy and then want to make out as transgender leftists. Of course, that's who they want to frame. That they hated Charlie. These people hate Charlie, which they do, but hated Charlie so much that they would organize a professional hit to take him out. Because clearly it was a professional hit. You can't just do that. One random can't just be able to coordinate what was required. If it was a random, they would have snuck a gun in and snuck through the crowd and just popped Charlie and not cared that they were seen doing it. When they tried to escape, that's the easiest way to try and kill someone. They want you to believe it was some left-wing hater. That was very predictable. We predicted that accurately, that it was Israel, the prime suspect behind that. You watch, though, that's who they will frame. And that's what they did. How do we know that? Well, we're looking for pattern recognition. We know clearly through history the pattern of what they do, and we can predict accurately that that's what they would do. We also said that they would come out with a PR campaign, including Netanyahu, and try and deny that Israel had any involvement. Why is it that Netanyahu's had to deny this multiple times now? Why is he continually going on a roadshow when he should be busy with all the bombing of countries he's doing around the world, now threatening China? And really, China's not going to be too bothered by some tiny little Middle Eastern nation that's got a retarded brother in Netanyahu that just mouths off. It clearly is out of his league. I don't know who they think they are, these people. You're a tiny little fake state created in 1948 by some bunch of banker wankers, namely the Rothschilds, that print fake money through the control of the Federal Reserve, that buy up fake politicians and own your fake news media and sell fake false narratives, and only fake people are stupid enough to believe it, such as fake pandemics that they take fake vaccines for. Unfortunately, they don't have to fake their deaths because many are already dead from it. So we know who is the prime suspect, and then we said, let's see if they're guilty. Let's watch their behavior and see if they're guilty. I'm just curious, has the Russian president, the Chinese president, Iranian president had to come out and repeatedly deny that their nation had nothing to do with the killing of Charlie Kirk? Does any other leader in the world have to do that? Nope. But Netanyahu hasn't shut up about it. Oh, Israel didn't do it. We didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Okay, well, on the law of probability, why did the Australian National Review put up $1 million challenge and increase it to 10 million? We put up $1 million even before we started the investigation into Israel as the prime suspect and most likely killed Charlie Kirk. We raised it to 10 million after we saw their behavior, because we said, if they're guilty, this is what they'll do. They'll try and frame a person and blame it on the leftist transgenders. They'll come out with a PR campaign and pay their influencers to try and push and try and martyr Charlie Kirk. They desperately want to martyr Charlie Kirk because they knew his death will get division. They'll try and divide left and hate even more. Just when the left and right, parts of left and right, center left, center right were uniting against the common enemy of the darkness being Israel. They can't have that. They must keep us divided, fighting amongst ourselves. Black versus white, left versus right, gay versus non-gay, immigrants versus citizens, natural-born citizens, whatever, LGBTQ, transgender against, conservatives. Divide to conquer, divide to distract, to keep us focused on away from who is the real enemy. Who is the darkness? I think Tucker implied there, those in power had the ability and the motive to do it. So we increased the offer at $10 million to anyone to challenge us at Israel and show proof that Israel didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Now, of course, they create psyops and fool the foolish that Charlie's still alive, and that keeps the more distraction amongst those who should know better than fall for such nonsense. When the evidence is clear, Charlie was shot with something with such force. I'm sure if you're going to fake your death, you'd probably have them shoot you in your body armor, your bulletproof vest that Charlie always wears at events like public events like that. You just shoot someone there, right? And have a blood satchel there, and then you would fake your death that way. That clearly didn't happen. And Turning Point USA is now claiming that there was no exit wound. Of course, they've got to say that because Israel controls that organization, Zionist funding in the beginning, and Charlie Kirk refused $150 million, basically take our money and push Israeli propaganda. Oh, we're going to kill you. But Charlie was a good, principled human being that was not going to be able to, after he knew the truth about it, Israel could continue to support Israel and can tell barefaced lies. Now, Ben Shapiro could do that, and a lot of people in this world can do that because their masters are the fake money, the fake Jewish imposters for the fake state of Israel print through the Federal Reserve, which no longer they can do because China, Russia, and Iran and the rest of the world no longer is going to buy into that scam. It doesn't want this fake money. That's why Israel wants World War III. That's why it's mouthing off trying to bomb every country and threaten every country now, including China. Netanyahu is desperate. And our $10 million challenge, Australian National Review, still stands. Anyone on the planet can take us up. $10 million in real estate is available if anyone can prove that Israel did not kill Charlie Kirk. Let's go to that break. We'll be back with some more in just a moment.
McIntyre Report.
Welcome back, folks. The McIntyre Report. Jamie McIntyre reporting here live. Australian National Review Studios, ANR.news. Follow our 24-hour news headlines. We've just been talking about the Charlie Kirk Memorial. And, of course, the question everyone wants to know, who killed Charlie? The darkness. Elon Musk interviewed at the memorial said, you know, he was killed by dark forces because he brought light into the world. Tucker Carlson talked about the power, who killed Jesus. Those in power had to silence Jesus, shut him up, and shared a story how it was like Charlie Kirk. Those in power needed to silence and shut Charlie Kirk up, and the bright idea was to kill him. Well, it's pretty obvious Charlie's unfortunately dead, despite the conspiracies out there that he's still alive. If you saw his neck jar to the left so brazenly, which we might still have this footage here, not that we really want to watch it too much, but I think the footage is gone, sorry. But if you all seen the footage where his neck is jolted to the left. So if he was shot by the patsy from long range at the front here, like in this direction, his neck would jolt back. The force would jolt him back. True? He is jolted this way. And that's why there's a sniper. That's evidence with recall that it looks like with a handgun or a mobile phone gun. You can buy these guns that they're available, they have been for the years, that can switch and look like a mobile phone, open up, are an actual gun. And there's a recall of the guy in the white. We don't have the footage here right now to show you. We've shown it before. And it aims straight here. And there's an exit wound shown here. The reason they would be saying there's no exit wound, because the exit wound should be the back of the neck if he's shot by the pats to the front, so they have to deny that. Now, those are saying Charlie Kirk wasn't shot and is alive. Please explain and watch the video of him again of what could have possibly hit him here to jerk his neck at such speed and the force of his body that's not lethal. That's what they convene him. Oh, no, he wasn't shot. So he just could move his neck at such speed and such force. Can a human being do that? Watch the video. The answer is clearly no. You can't just do that to yourself. You know, the sheer force of what hit him. So if his death was faked and staged, what hit him with that force that wouldn't seriously injure or kill him? And who would volunteer for that besides no one? If you wanted to stage his death, you'd shoot him here through where the bulletproof vest is and have a Hollywood-style satchel of blood under his shirt that would explode. That's what you would do if you want to stage his death. So those in the so-called freedom movement, or the truthers that are falling for this Israeli psyops that's put out there to confuse people and discredit people from what's 99% probable, that was 90% probable the day of the shooting. You go, I bet you this is Israel. How can we say that straight away, put up $1 million before we start investigations? Is because you want to look who has motive, Israel, because we knew Charlie was speaking out in recent months. And it was a turning point in his life several months ago. As I said, we were going to have Charlie speak at the Freedom Summit 2 months ago, but only on the basis he agreed to a debate with myself about Israel, because up until then he was pro-Israel. But he'd actually now started speaking to some commentators, had changed his mind. He started looking into it and realizing that Israel wasn't the biblical Israel, or behaving like that he, like many Christians, Zionist Christians, had believed by reading the Bible. He had woken up. And that's why he's dead. Now, is he dead from some leftist? Well, if that's the other way, you can pick it out too. Apart from who has motive, Israel, who has capability, Israel clearly has capability. Who else assassinates as many people as Mossad? And realize CIA and intelligence agencies around the Western nations, Israel controls the Western vassal states. America is a vassal state of Israel, as is Australia, as is the British Empire, London, West Germany, etc. People don't understand that. It all comes back to Israel controls all these nations. If you don't think that, who's flooding Australia with mass immigration? Oh, not just Australia, the whole West. It's coming from one force. Give you a clue, excess Muslim immigration. Let me give you a good. Who's bombing excess Muslim nations? That would be Netanyahu and Israel. Who's flooding those refugees into the West for deliberate purposes? That would be Israel. So people don't realize they're divided and they think, oh, we should stand with Israel. Oh, Charlie Kirk's being killed by a leftist. Let's stand with Israel. Let's now become a Christian Zionist and stand with Israel because they talk about Israel in the Bible. You realize the fake state in 1948 that ripped off fraudulently the name Israel by a bunch of banking cartels, the Rothschilds, which are not a conspiracy theory, are a family that have existed, control the central banking system throughout the ages, responsible for nearly every war on the planet for a very long time, created Israel. You realize that. They did create it. Dear Lord Rothschild's Balfour Declaration. I mean, that's not even in dispute. They control your nation. And why we're at this point in humanity is they want a one world government let out of Jerusalem. And what you have is a left faction globalist wankers, which we call the World Economic Forum, the George Soroses of the world, we refer to as the globalists. And then you have the right faction Zionists, which is Netanyahu, which controls the Trump administration. And they generally hate each other. But the people above that fund both sides, and that's what they call democracy. Any nation that's controlled has a central controlled Rothschild's bank. You're a democracy. If you don't, you're clearly run by an evil dictator. Think Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, Putin. Anyone that refuses to be owned and taken out by these gangsters, banker wanker gangsters, is called an evil dictator, authoritarian leader. But no, we in Australia and the West, we're a democracy because what you have is a nation controlled by left and right. That's your two choices. If you don't want to vote Labor on the left, or Democrats in America, Republicans or the Liberal Party in Australia on the right, then you have to go for a minor party. But any of the minor parties, guess who funds most of them, including one nation? Israel. Pauline Hanson drapes what flag in Australian Parliament? Not the Australian flag, but Israel. The US Congress, you know, is controlled by Israel. The British Empire, destroyed and sucked dry by Israel. So democracy is left and right. So they generally hate each other. So the only question is not did Israel kill Charlie Kirk, but was it the left faction, the right faction? Well, how you would know that is pretty simple. Who was offering the money and invited him to Israel recently? Netanyahu. Netanyahu's the right faction. Who offered the money? The right faction. Who needed to desperately shut Charlie Kirk up because he was a turning point in his life, turned against Israel? The right faction. Israel needed to shut him up and place Ben Shapiro to take over. Of course, no one's going to listen to Benny Boy because Benny Boy is a little grub. He just loves the shekels too much. He's a sellout. Did a deal with the devil. As anyone does, you pursue your life on the fake money printed by these fake Jewish imposters. You have done a deal with the devil, and you'll pay dearly for that. At least Charlie won't be like the Christian Zionists and will get to heaven, because when he sits down with God for a debrief of his life, he'll be asked the question, did you stand with Israel? And Charlie can go, unfortunately, I did for most of my life, but as you know, in recent times, I stood up to that. And that's probably why we're meeting today, God. God will let him into heaven. But if you stand with the fake Jewish imposters, the fake state of Israel, and you are Christian, means you're a Christian Zionist, and you think you're going to heaven because you're a good person, well, I think God's going to ask you some simple questions. So you're on the side that drops bombs on innocent children, snipers kids, not once, not twice in the head, and that's why you think that you're a Christian when you didn't read the Bible. You don't even have to read the Bible. You just need to know the 10 Commandments. They shall not kill. Love thy neighbor. How can you be a Christian and stand with such evil? Only because of you fooled. Only because of your friends are fooled and read in the Bible about Israel. Hello, the Bible was written thousands of years ago. Israel, the fake state created in 1948, 77 years ago, is not biblical age and didn't exist. So how was it written about in this modern state of Israel written about in the Bible? Sorry, it wasn't. Why did we allow the Rothschilds to be called themselves the chosen ones. That's an affront. They're satanic Luciferians that hate Christians. They want Muslims and Christians to hate each other. So how many in the West think that everyone else is evil except Israel? China's evil. They're communist evil dictators. Putin's an evil dictator. North Korea's an evil dictator. Gaddafi was an evil dictator. Assad in Syria was an evil dictator. They're all evil except the dark nation of Israel. Hitler was evil, they tell us. Yet, have you listened to Hitler's speeches? Compare Hitler's speeches to Rothschild's speeches. Why are the Rothschilds call us Holocaust deniers if we question the exaggeration of a certain Holocaust 80 years ago? Yet they're the ones that deny every single Holocaust. Why? Because they did them. Killed 30, 60 million Christians alone in the takeover Russian implementation of the Soviet Union when they killed the Russian Tsars. What about the Armenian genocide? Holodomor? I mean, name me dropping atomic bombs on Nagasaki, Hiroshima. Who do you think was that? Rothschilds, Israel. Oh, but Jamie, Israel wasn't created in 1948. The founders of Israel created the atomic bombs and dropped them on cities. Who firebombed Dresden and Japan? Who does that? If that's not evil. Who started World War II? Not who you told. The Rothschilds. Who sucked dry the British Empire and now is sucking dry the US Empire, and who owns Trump's ass? Trump knows he'll be assassinated, or they'll release videos of him and Epstein doing things inappropriately with teenage girls who he partied with for years. They have him by the balls, both financially and blackmail. Trump is cornered, rock in a hard place. His US presidency will be destroyed if he doesn't stand against Israel. And if he stands against Israel, his US presidency will be destroyed. Trump is bought and sold. Some people don't like that. Some people just want to believe the Q is also controlled by Israel right faction. We warned you about that. They've infiltrated, taken over that, even if it ever was anything other than a psyops. And these people that are foolish should know better, that woke up to the fraud and the lies of the globalist left, to not only fall for the fraud and the lies and the propaganda of the right faction Zionists and fall for their side. So Charlie's still alive. Bullshit. Accept it. He's not. The evidence they provide for that is so ridiculous. If Charlie's alive, great. But I think it's wishful thinking. So people are being confused, distracted, and don't know how to discern things. It's pretty simple. Motive. Who had motive? Israel. Both factions. Who had capability? Israel. Both factions. Some left-wing nutter doesn't really have the capability, does he? You try and go into a public arena where he was speaking at Utah University with security guards all around and try and just kill someone randomly. Get up on a roof, pre-order the weapons, know how to use a high-powered rifle. Although the family said the person they're framing, Tyler Robinson, never been violent, doesn't even know how to use a gun. Then pull the gun apart, which is very difficult to do, a rifle, stack it in your backpack, despite the fact that it can't fit in a backpack. Then put it in the woods. Like, why would you do that? I then go off to Wendy's and casually be seen on camera, and then message your friend, like basically telling your friend everything, because you got all the time in the world and you really want to dob yourself in. Then I better hurry up back and get back to the woods and get my gun and move it. Why did you put it in? I mean, it's just absurd. It's absurd. People believe. How do you know? How can we put up $1 million straight away? It's Israel. First of all, you know this. Whatever the fake news media tells you, even if you don't know anything about the world, whatever fake news media tells you, it's the exact opposite is the truth. So just head in that direction and do some basic research. So they tell you it was Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. You can bet your house right now it wasn't Tyler Robinson that killed Charlie Kirk. If Netanyahu comes out and says Israel had nothing to do with it, we had nothing to do with it, Netanyahu's never told the truth in his life, has lied for decades to you about Iraq war, weapons of mass destruction, covering up for September 11th, October 7th. Every terror attack on the planet can be linked back to left or right faction Israel. So if Netanyahu is telling you that Israel didn't kill Charlie Kirk, you can bet your house Israel killed Charlie Kirk. Then we told you, look at pattern recognition. If they're killers, here's what they would do. How do we know that? The pattern of their assassinations in the past. Let's look at JFK. Pattern of how they did it. They were frame a patsy. They needed Lee Harvey Oswald, a shooter from a distance. They set up and brainwash and tell them whatever story. You're working for the government secret mission. We need you to do this. You'll be fully protected. Whatever. Or MK Ultra brainwash your mind program. Whatever they do to them, right? And they make them think they're going to be the shooter. So they distract everyone like a magician's trick. We need to have a fake shooter who's going to be the decoy, the distraction, where people think the shot come from, and that's the person we're going to frame. That's what they did to Lee Harvey Oswald. Yet the person that shot JFK was part of the security detail in very close range. So we said, let's look at this for Charlie Kirk. Could this possibly happen? Okay, let's see. Let's see. The patsy will be a shooter from the distance. We should be looking for someone in security detail that's very close distance to Charlie. And if you can find anyone there that looks like they may have had a clear range and shot Charlie, not from the front, from the long distance, but from the side. And the video image is already there. We'll show it in the next show again for you again. Of a man in a white shirt in the stand, not too far away. His hand even recalls with the gun, shooting him. The most likely suspect, not 100% proof, 99% proof, but has this man, despite the video being widely available, despite it being pulled continually off YouTube, etc., has this man been placed under investigation by the intelligence agencies? Of course not, because who controls your intelligence agencies in the West? That would be Mossad. So is Israel going to blame themselves? Of course not. They're going to run distractions, decoys, and the other distractions is to psyop that Charlie's still alive, to fool those who should be open-minded and know how to investigate. That just, instead of, most people don't join any dots. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, right? If those of us in the independent media that are independent journalists and investigative journalists and have done this for over a decade of our lives, is what we focus on full time, and we're able to see the full jigsaw pitch. Let's say the jigsaw pitch is 98% complete of how the world works. So therefore, we can quickly come in and put up $1 million challenges at Australian National Review because we know what we're looking for. We're looking for the pattern, just like you'd be able to if you had the jigsaw picture almost full. So there's only a few missing links. You can go, I know exactly what that is. Where others who only have a couple of pieces of jigsaw puzzle have no idea. They can't see a pattern of a picture. So they're just like, they don't join any dots. They don't realize this is part of this, should be linked to this. But then there's other people that wake up to that and, the brainwashing throughout our life we've had, and then become open-minded, but then go and start connecting dots that don't exist. And then they believe Charlie Kirk's still alive based on flimsy BS evidence that can be debunked so easily. If Charlie Kirk is still alive, someone please send us the evidence of that it stacks up, that you can join those dots, and then we'll investigate it, because all we care for is the truth. We would love to be wrong. We'd love Charlie Kirk to be alive and have faked his own death. But we don't bet our house on that. But we do bet $10 million that Israel did it, because we have 99.9% enough pattern of recognition, motive, guilty suspect behavior, and we know more evidence will be forthcoming, which will show that Israel, just like they killed JFK, just like they did October 7th, just like they did September 11th, just like they bombed USS Liberty, just like they bombed Bali, they did the Port Arthur massacre, Christchurch massacre, Dunblane massacre, every major terrorist thing on the planet through Africa right now, the killing of Christians in Africa. Who do you think is behind this? Who do you think tried to start a war between Pakistan and India? Who started the war in Ukraine, Russia? Who's trying to now start a war with China? Give me a clue. Could it just possibly be the one warmongering dark state that's fake and fraudulent that was created in 1948, that's masquerading as biblical Israel and masquerading as God's chosen one? Just could it be? Let's go to that break and come back with some more, folks. But I want you to wake up your friends. Stop falling for BS Israeli psyops and stop falling for an obvious assassination that Israel has done and wants to distract you. the left and right to fool you.
The McIntyre Report.
And welcome back, folks. Jerry McIntyre reporting live here, Australian National Review Studios, ANR.news for our 24-hour news headlines. You follow us on Twitter as well, Facebook and Instagram. Wow, what a crazy world we live in. Charlie Kirk Memorial held 60,000 people at the stadium, over 3 million live stream viewers. Have said no doubt a lot more. Millions watching around the world. It has driven a lot more people to Christian values, and Israel is hoping this because they want Christian Zionists. Charlie had a turning point in his life several months ago, realizing that Israel was not the Israel, beloved Israel he believed in the Bible. But perhaps like many of us have woken up that it's a fake state created in 1948 by a bunch of psychopathic banker wankers, fake Jewish imposters known as the Rothschilds family, and 3 terror groups, and satanic Luciferians that hate Christians and Muslims alike and want a one world government led out of Jerusalem. And part of their plans is not only the Greater Israel Project, but it's to destroy Russia, China, Iran, the last 3 major nations, holding out for them to take over the world and achieve their one world government, which will enslave you with their digital currency, central bank digital currency planned. They'll vaccinate you to death every time they invent another pandemic. And you will be able to choose only between 2 control parties that they control, that both left and right, and they'll keep you divided, left and right, black or white, gay or non-gay, immigrant, natural-born citizen. Whatever way to divide you, that's what they will do, because they're masters. They keep you divided. Otherwise, we might just unite and focus on who is our real enemy, who is the racist state, the pedophile state, which state created OnlyFans, Pornhub, pedophile heaven, prints fake money, starts war after war, and then cries at little victims. Oh, we're surrounded by enemies. Oh, we have a right to self-defense. Where's your self-defense on October 7th, fuckers? Excuse the French. Where was it? Conveniently wasn't there. Or we're at war. Of course there's going to be civilian casualties. It's a war. Okay, what war are you fighting? Israel? You have fighter jets, aircraft carrier on loan from America, unlimited tens and tens of billions of dollars military budget given to you by American taxpayers. You have army tanks, fighter jets, Apache helicopters, missiles, nuclear bombs, and you say you're fighting a war. Okay, so which army are you fighting? Okay, what's the Palestinian army? Actually, right, Palestinian does have an army. Oh, but they have Hamas. Oh, okay, well, they have Hamas. Okay, so how many army tanks does Hamas have? That would be 0. How many Apache helicopters do they have? That would be 0. That's strange, isn't it? Because the only child that died on October 7th, Israeli child, was killed inside an Israeli settlement by an army tank bombing it. Makes no sense. Hamas doesn't have army tanks. So who bombed Israeli house? That's right. IDF has an army tank. They bombed it. So the only child that was killed, there was no children, babies beheaded or baked in ovens. But there was a child killed by the IDF. They knew the Israelis were in the house. What about the Apache helicopter that destroyed and burned all the cars to a crisp at the rave concert? Hamas. God, they must be. Did they magically hit some Apache helicopters and train some pilots to do that? That's right. The 1,100 Israelis that were slaughtered that day were mostly slaughtered by Israel. You don't know that yet? That's because if you consume fake news media, you don't know what the hell's going on in the world. You'll believe anything. Fake people believe fake news and fake narratives. They're easily manipulated. Do you have some fake friends out there that are falling for fake nonsense? I dare say you do. I have a few. Let's have a look at some of these other things.
In just 48 hours, the global script flipped, and Donald Trump flipped with it. The man who vowed to crush China's economy is now dialing Beijing, asking for talks, trade, and even help to end the Russia-Ukraine war. What changed? A shockwave from a Pakistan-Saudi defense alignment that effectively pulls advanced Chinese tech, missiles, air defense, and logistics into the Gulf's security picture. That raises a direct strategic risk for Washington and Israel, forcing Trump to recalibrate fast. He reportedly urged Xi to finalize tariff issues, explore cooperation, and even consider a U.S. visit, an extraordinary reversal after months of hardline rhetoric. The timing is striking. China manufactures the bulk of new iPhones, and Gulf capital is weighing where to bet next. If the Gulf tilts toward a China-Pakistan security umbrella, America's superpower leverage shrinks. Is this a tactical pause, or the first clear crack in the old world order?
Interesting. All these things come together. Israel needs to fool Westerners, keep them fooled, dumb down Westerners. The way they did it was fool Christians to be Christian Zionists, stand with Zionism, this political ideology that Israel has a right to its own state, even if it means genociding innocent people and stealing their land. But there's more.
Why are they lying about Charlie Kirk? Why is it when they pulled Charlie off right and rushed him to hospital, did these guys decide to come straight in the tent, start pulling things down, moving cameras, standing on the chair that Charlie was sat on, and contaminating the whole crime scene? Then Bill Ackman, one of Charlie's biggest donors, gave the FBI $1 million for a reward to whoever identified the shooter. And now that money is going to the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson's dad, because he is a good dad to turn in his son. They've now released the texts between Tyler and his roommate after he shot Charlie, a smart 22-year-old man with no criminal history and no history of violence, is hiding in the woods, watching the police all around, trying to get his gun back, which he just used to successfully kill the first man he has ever shot from long distance over a giant crowd, on the first try, and typing perfectly coherent full sentences with punctuation detailing his crime in text messages on his phone to his lover. Wow. What a lucky break for the investigators. Not to mention the old man who bought the shooter time to escape. Why was he even there? The whole thing feels way too weird. What's your take?
Interesting. What is your take? Clearly, you don't have to be an investigative journalist to know simple things. Whatever the fake news media tells you, you can know 99% it's a lie. Whatever the intelligence agencies feed the media and your government, you know is a lie. So anyone that figured out COVID was a fraud, then gone back to sleep and thinking Tyler Robinson is the killer, and then getting caught up to the left-right divide and it's all those leftists, they haters. Yeah, the extreme left is nutcases. That's pretty clear. But they're incompetent nutcases. So blaming or falling for the narrative is like such lazy thinking. It means that I'm going to have someone else do my thinking for me because I can't get off my ass and do some basic research and start seeing patterns of dots that could possibly be connected. Not going crazy and thinking Charlie Kirk's still alive based on flimsy. I'm just going to put this jigsaw piece here and say it goes together when it clearly doesn't. I mean, that's just as crazy as the left-wing nutters. So you don't want to become crazy like that, because if you're trying to wake people up and you're going around posting, Charlie Kirk's still alive, who are you going to wake up? Besides no one? You make yourself look like an idiot. You lose all credibility. You lose your reputation as a complete nutter. And what have you achieved? No, but what if you're right? What if it turns out Charlie Kirk's still alive? Well, what, that 0.5% chance of that happening? Are you going to stake? Are you going to bet your house on it? Are you going to bet your house on that? Are you going to bet your entire career and reputation on saying that? No, you'll be stupid. Absolutely stupid. So what are you going to achieve? Other than destroy your reputation, destroy your ability to influence to wake people up, and you're no longer of any value. You're actually the opposite. You just make people go back to sleep and go, that person's lost the plot. True? So be careful what you believe in. Stick to high probability reality, high probability what's likely to have happened. Not think you're arrogant and think you know more than everyone else. You don't. Present the evidence. Present the pattern of recognition, the motive, the guilty pattern of behavior, all those things that we're able to present to show Israel is highly likely the killer. We don't know 100%. We know 99% enough to bet our house on it. And we know there'll be more evidence come out.
We're not even allowed to speak about the Holocaust. Imagine being so powerful. You execute this training for every child growing up in America, and it's coming more. They just passed another, I believe, in Congress. They passed a bill that every student in America would also have to learn about October 7th. Didn't happen on our soil, but every student is going to have to learn about October 7th. This is part of that indoctrination that's taking place, okay? So you have been indoctrinated in your youth to believe that it's somehow more weighted if it happens to a Jewish person that you could be guilty of a Holocaust. And so you support that. At the same time they did that, they also, via a sleight of hand, made it so that you can't even ask a question about the Holocaust. Because as you get older and you get out of school and you start learning that, okay, you were told a ton of things about the Holocaust, but there were tons of things that you weren't told about the Holocaust. Like, I think the thing that shocked me the most that I never learned was about the Havara Agreement. Like, that's confusing, right? At a bare minimum, can we all agree that not learning about the Havara Agreement is weird? The Havara Agreement? I mean, what? We didn't even learn about it because then maybe you would ask another question that they don't want you asking. And this is why the new radical Zionist pitch is, you're not just asking questions. Don't ask any questions. Don't. Just remember what you learned in public school, and that's it. The Havara Agreement. The Havara Agreement is the transfer agreement. It was an agreement between Nazi Germany and Zionist organizations that was signed on the 25th of August of 1933, when Hitler was in power. Okay. They signed an agreement with the Nazis. The agreement was finalized after 3 months of talks by the Zionist Federation of Germany, the Anglo-Palestine Bank under the directive of the Jewish Agency, and the economic authorities of Nazi Germany. It was a major factor in making it possible for people to migrate the approximately 60,000 German Jews to Palestine between 1933 and 1939. That's during wartime. So some were being legally transferred to be allowed to resettle in Palestine while the rest of them were being killed. Like, how did they decide who? But no. Stop that right now, because you would be guilty of the next Holocaust if you asked a question.
Bro, she's got valid points. It's not true. Why can't we talk about these things? Who controls you? Whoever dictates what you can and can't say controls you. Why was the hate speeches being used? Let's have a listen to this about the hate speeches. Why are these being pushed?
Pam Bondi, who is a complete loser and a tool, is trying to use the assassination of Charlie Kirk to lay the groundwork for hate speech laws in America. The very thing that Charlie was fighting against. They all just got right to work trying to pass laws. Well, Charlie Kirk is such, now we got to hate speech is something. Exactly what he's messaging me about that he doesn't want to happen. They're trying to use his death to justify. Listen to what Pam Bondi said to Katie Miller on her podcast. Take a listen.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech.
No.
And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see
more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people, so we show them that some action is better than no action. We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything, and that's across the aisle.
So to be clear, that's the feds telling you that they want to pass speech laws, which will basically just give them the full power to go after you for wrongthink. Okay. And they're doing it in the most disturbing way ever by going after Charlie Kirk's legacy and using his assassination to say, oh, well, now we've got to get hate speech done, which, by the way, who was the person and the leader who said that he was passing laws against speech in America? That was Bibi Netanyahu.
מי שיחרים אותנו מוחרם בעצמו. בשנים האחרונות קידמנו בארצות הברית, ויש כבר ברוב המדינות שם, חוקים שמי שמחרים את ישראל נענש בעצמו. אז זה לא יעזור להם, אנחנו לא מתרגשים מזה, ואנחנו נלחמים בזה.
When something chaotic happens, we usually turn to the government. I mean, 9/11, what did we do? We gave them so much power, right? The Patriot Act. Do whatever, just keep me safe. It's like they see your emotion. They see this global emotion and they want you to just agree with them that the next step is more power for the government. And this time we're saying no. No, Pam Bondi. No, thank you.
It's so true, right? So, more laws were passed on the day of Charlie Kirk's death. Why are they so? Hate speech is nothing other than censorship. What, you can't criticize Israel, you can't boycott Israel's products. Why they're wanting that is because they know everyone's going to boycott them and is sanctioning them, because Israel invented cancel culture and sanctioning the world. They can't cop a little bit of the medicine. And I challenge you, boycott any Israeli companies, boycott their products. And what we want and what we're going to fund is activists to go after Israeli supporters. If you stand, if anyone stands with Israel, have letters demanding to their company that they be fired, if they have a business, blacklist their businesses. We need to show that if you want to support Zionism, which is a form of terrorism, which is a politically dangerous ideology which should be banned from every nation on the planet, then you should be banned from society. If you wish to support war criminals and the enemy of humanity and fall for useless propaganda pushed by these pathetic psychopaths like Netanyahu and his masters, then you don't deserve a place in society. You don't deserve a job. You don't deserve a business. And you should be sanctioned. No, that's a bit mean, Jamie. Do you think they don't do it to us? Do you think they haven't been cancelling us for years? Do you think they don't have government dodgy agencies go after people that speak out? Do you think they don't do this to their enemies? Until you realize who the enemy is and stop your friends from standing with them, then humanity will lose and Charlie Kirk's death will be in vain. If this doesn't be a turning point in human history, particularly for the West, to wake up that Israel is the enemy of humanity, that Israel is the most likely suspects that killed Charlie Kirk, and said you just go and become a Christian Zionist and think that God wants you, if you're a Christian, to stand with this sick, pathetic, devil-worshipping state, then his death will be in vain. If you like Charlie Kirk for what he stood for, then become a Christian that realizes, a true Christian, they shall not kill and they shall love their neighbor, and do not stand with sick Israel. Do not fall for the BS propaganda they push. Everyone else is evil except the nation that bombs kids to death. Everyone else is evil, but not us as we snipe at kids. Everyone else is evil. Release our hostages, as they have thousands and tens of thousands of hostages they rape and torture in prison and only protest when they're told to stop raping and torturing them. But they're not evil. Everyone else is always evil. They're not the victims, are they? Of course, we know the drill. Oh, you're just anti-Semitic. Really? If that's the case, if I'm anti-Semitic, how come many Jews, support what I say? And how come 90% of Zionists aren't even Jewish? So let's not make it a Jewish issue now, shall we?
Okay, so I'm going to break this down so even the dumbest person in the room can understand it. If you know anyone, any American that's still parroting the phrase, I stand with Israel, I'm going to hopefully open their eyes by the end of this video. You ready? Now, before I get into it, I know that there's so many people that the second they see anything anti-Israel, they were just so bombarded with propaganda and they think, oh, he must be a Jew hater. He must just hate all Jews for no reason. Guys, I'm 99% Jewish. This is me reading the Torah at my bar mitzvah. This is me at my bar mitzvah being held up in the chair. I don't hate myself. I love myself. I love my family. I have nothing against the everyday Jew that's just living their life, minding their own business. But I do have something against the deceptive Jews that have completely hijacked this country and the paid off evil people that are trying to brainwash Americans that they must support Israel. So why do I think that Israel is the shittiest ally in the world? Well, let's just get to the numbers. So we just passed $37 trillion in debt in America. That number's unfathomable. I can't even comprehend that. You can't comprehend that. It's a pathetic number. It's a ridiculous number. Never should have ever happened. So now I'm going to ask you this. I want you to pretend that you are a life coach. You're Tony Robbins. And let's personify America. So America comes into your office. You ask them, what's up? How you doing? They say that they're basically in a lifetime of debt. They have so much debt, they're going to be paying it off for life. They want to go to college. College prices are sky high, way more than the cost should be. Healthcare, if they ever get hurt or ever need emergency surgery, that's a shit ton of money. Insurance is a shit ton of money for health insurance. It's just, they just pull prices out of their ass. Everything's super expensive here in America. So you being Tony Robbins, the life coach, and seeing that your client is in a very shitty situation right now, I'm sure you would say, well, your goal is to fix that ASAP, right? Like, what's on your agenda list today? And they say to you, oh, well, today we're going to be helping our friend out. Now, if you're any good at your job, I'm sure you would say, what the hell is wrong with you? You got to fix your own problems first before you help anyone else out. But anyways, that's very nice of you to have someone else on your mind when you're in such a shitty situation. They must have it really, really, really bad if you're willing to help them out. Then you see their numbers and you see that they're in a drastically better financial situation than your client. They're in a at least 3x better per capita financial situation than your client. And then you keep doing research into this so-called friend of your client, and you see that this friend already gets free healthcare, universal healthcare, when your client is paying a shit ton for healthcare. Look at this. And then you keep looking into it, and you see that your client's friend also has massively cheaper college than your client. And you're just sitting here like, what the hell? So in summary, your client's friend gets universal health care, massively cheaper college, way better situation when it comes to money and debt. And your client's over here saying, we got to send my friend more money. If you were any good at your job, you would say that is the shittiest friend that you could possibly have. That's a mooch. That's someone taking advantage of you. That person's terrible. Then I would dig a little bit deeper and ask my friend how this even went on the top of his priority list. When you got so many issues, how did that become a priority to help out this friend over fixing yourself? I would dig deep and I would realize that this friend has actually hijacked your whole system to inorganically get you to prioritize the friend over yourself. That's what's going on here in America.
Yes, it's true. Israel is like a retarded friend or a retarded young brother that's like Netanyahu that shoots off his arrogant mouth, that picks a fight with everyone, that even though he's a coward, he can't fight anyone, but he relies on Big Brother to back him up. Well, unfortunately, he's picked a fight I think he's going to suffer from massively, which is he picked a fight with China recently. And we'll see how that goes, won't we? Where China's been pretty clear, basically, like they would love Israel to send some fighter jets or do a bombing in China because China has zero tolerance and plenty of political support to deal with Israel, unlike many other weak Western leaders that won't stand up to Israel. But it's very well said there by a Jewish person. We have a lot of Jewish people on the show. We're certainly not anti-Jewish.
In breaking news, a group of people just landed claiming Cyprus was promised to them 3,000 years ago. By who? By who?
Look, right here it says we get this coast and a complimentary donkey.
Wait, does this place even have startup tax benefits?
Hashtag Promised Land Glow Up.
Sir, can you clarify why you're claiming half the marina?
Easy. Divine deed. Promised to us 3,000 years ago.
Sir, why did you just plant a flag on someone's Airbnb?
Because in 1200 BC, my great uncle saw this place in a dream. We have rights and receipts.
So a yacht full of new neighbors just claimed half the island. Apparently it was promised to them 3,000 years ago. Meanwhile,
satire. And it's not actually a laughing matter. Cyprus government has just put a fund aside to start buying back all the land that's been getting bought up by Israelis that are fleeing Israel into Cyprus, because they're afraid that what's happened to Palestine might, and every other nation that these people flee to, Cyprus could be quickly taken over by Israelis. So they've bought back all the land, and Israelis are no longer welcome in Cyprus. They're pretty much not welcome anywhere. There is a Jewish autonomous state in Siberia. Maybe they should be sent there, and a prison fence erected around them. And then the rest of the world can maybe just put some money together and drop bombs on them, hire some snipers and shoot their kids in the head, not once but twice, rape them, torture them, and then fund a terrorist group and put inside them. So that way, whenever they complain that they're being treated unfairly, we can just say that, oh, that terrorist group, which is inside your precinct, is evil, not us. How's that sound? Of course, to do such a thing is sniper kids in the head, rape and torture people, drop bombs on innocent people, and fund terrorist groups that you can call evil so you can deflect from your evil. Would be a dark thing to do. Was that the dark things that the dark people that Elon Musk was talking about at Charlie Kirk's memorial? Tucker Carlson calling out. Interesting. We'll be back with some more, folks, on the next episode of the McIntyre Report. Until then, take care.